Alright, hello everyone. I got a little bit bored this morning and I decided to make a different type of alcohol stove out of some copper pipe. This design, though, is not my own. If you look in the description of the video, I did put in there the person who deserves the credit for this design. Like I said, it's not my design. He came up with this design and I thought it was neat, so I thought I'd try it. To make this design, you need several things. First off, this is 1/2-inch copper pipe. 2 1/2-inch copper caps. Either solder to hold the caps on, or JB Weld will also work. I soldered real quickly because I didn't want to wait for JB Weld to dry for 20 hours. The holes are drilled with a 1/16 inch drill bit and are off-centered. I don't know if you can see. See, there's one set, there's the other set. Basically, so it creates like a fan pattern. To make the stand, which is essentially a fold flat design until you open it, just by turning it like this. I used a hanger. Make 2 M shapes. Make 2 pieces for the sides, as long as the piece of pipe, which in this case is 4 inches. And then 1/4 inch copper tube to hold the pieces together. You also need, of course, some sort of pipe cutter to cut the pipes. And like I said, you can use solder or JB Weld to put the caps on. Now, the guy where I got this idea from, he made the stand so it's completely collapsible. Basically, you pull this piece out and the whole thing folds up. I felt that to be kind of hard to achieve, at least with making it so quickly. So I decided to make it so it just folds up. It folds flat, so I think it's okay that way. Basically, you take the stove with the holes up, try to get it centered, slide it into the stand, kind of look at it, make sure it's somewhat level. And that really is all there is to it. It just sits in the stand just like this. Holes up. To fill this stove with alcohol, you really only have 2 choices unless you could design some sort of a filler port. You can use a hypodermic needle. Not everybody has these things lying around, and the caps are a pain to get off. There you go. Hypodermic needle. I use these for everything from putting alcohol into a stove like this to oiling old electric motors for like my drill press. There's a million uses for them. I just happen to have a couple laying around here. Another thing I use, or you could use, is what's called an irrigator. And you can actually get these from a dentist office. If you ask them after you go to the dentist if they can give you an irrigator, they probably will, depending on how nice of a patient you are. This does not have a needle. It just has a plastic tip that gets down. I don't even know if you can see that small. There you go. It gets down real small. It allows you to inject the alcohol into the stove. That's what I'm going to use. So you get your alcohol, put the irrigator inside the bottle, pull slowly. And I've already pre-measured this out I know how much alcohol the stove can hold without spilling. And it's pretty much right to the C on the shine on this irrigator. So not an awful lot. Put the cap on. And basically, with the irrigator, all you need to do, let me zoom in on this so you can see. All you basically need to do is to take the irrigator, put it onto the tip of a hole, like that, and inject the alcohol into the stove. There we go. The big flaw with this design is that it's not self-priming. You have to use a primer, which in this case I'm just going to use this pickle lid. The biggest thing I found is the copper takes a lot longer to heat, so you have to use a decent amount of primer. I'm going to shut the light off. And sometimes one prime is not enough to get this stove to flame up, or to blossom as they call it. Light the primer. And for some reason the flame isn't even underneath the pipe right now. There it goes, it's going under now. Not enough. Not enough. Okay. In this case, you could probably use the lighter to make the stove blossom. My aim and flame apparently doesn't have enough juice. Nope. Alright. Well, we're going to have to use a little bit more alcohol. So back in the bottle. Suck a little bit out. Now what's going to happen is, since this pipe's already heated, it's going to bloom quick, and it's going to have a pretty powerful bloom. That's basically what happens with this. And as you can see, it's blooming like crazy, just like I thought it would. Now, the primer pan is out, and you can see the individual flames, but what you might not be able to see is that there are two jets not lit on this side. They just flared up now. Everything is lit. This angle gives you a pretty decent view of what the flames will look like. And you can put a pot right on this, and it won't go out. This metal stand will absorb the cold from whatever it is you're trying to boil, and it won't let it go out. And that's a good thing, because sometimes the self-priming can stoves can go out if the water is really cold, although I haven't had it happen to me. The thing I hate about this design is what you're about to witness here any second. It's going to go out. The amount of alcohol that I was able to put in there, it's only enough to run the stove at best for a couple of minutes. You might be able to get water warm, or start the water to a simmer, but it's never going to boil water. You would have to basically have a pipe 12 inches long to hold enough alcohol to boil water in this design. And as you can see, the stove just went out. Let me turn the lights back on. So when I tried to do a boil test with this, the stove only stayed lit long enough, basically, to get the water warm, and that was it. So, although this is a pretty cool idea and a nice novelty or a conversation piece, I don't see it being practical, for camping or for survival or for anything that you would want to use one of these stoves for. Now, if you use 3/4 inch copper pipe, it might burn a little bit longer. This is approximately 4 inches long. 1/2 inch by 4 inches long. So, and it wasn't enough to boil water. Now the stand is warm, but I can still handle it without getting burnt below where the flames were. I won't want to touch it up here. And you don't want to touch this copper pipe. It holds heat a lot longer than a can. So I'm going to give credit to where credit's due. There's a link to the video of the guy, like I said, where I originally got this idea from. It's a cool idea. I like the idea. But I just don't see how it's very practical. You can't boil water with it. It just doesn't last long enough. So, in my opinion, for what it's worth, it's at best a novelty. And it'll go on my shelf. And that's it. Like I said, I didn't originate the design of this stove, so if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If you have any opinions as to how it could be improved, feel free to post them. If I ever get around to it, I might be able to try to design up something else. Thanks for watching.